All right, welcome guys to Stock Market Mutterings. Let me start out by saying, isn't it a great feeling? Is it not an amazing feeling when a plan works out to perfection? Like when you're putting in all the work, you're grinding it out, you're doing all the study, you're doing all the research, and then the trade just works out perfectly. I mean, that's a great feeling, isn't it? Man, it makes us feel really good. And that's how today was. Most specifically with Apple, the big winner for today. And if you guys were watching these market mutterings, this is exactly what I was talking about yesterday. I mean, the trade almost went down perfectly with the way that I had talked about it yesterday. If you didn't, go back to yesterday's market mutterings. You'll see the chart setup. You'll see what we're talking about. But I'm going to go over that here in just a second. Also, if you need help with your trading before I get started, visit the linkenlist.com. Click on the trade room tab. You guys can start trading with us right away live and see this stuff happen in real time. I put my brokerage account statement up there for everyone to see my exits, entries, and the stuff that I did. So let's talk about that plan. And there's a good lesson in that because as you're trading, one of the most important things that you'll develop is patience. That some of the ideas that you have, remember there's three components to trading: idea, execution, and management, right? And sometimes those ideas, they don't happen right away. I mean, we want every trade that we get into to work right away, no questions asked, but sometimes you got to do it 2 or 3 times. It's just not quite ready. And that was the case with Apple, so let's go over it. If you remember yesterday, what I was talking about here with this was that the market is really eating up all of this stuff that clicks 52-week highs, all-time highs, breaks out on a daily chart. They're just eating it up. I don't know why, but it just gets a frenzy of buying. If it's an upgrade, it's an earnings winner, it's an all-time high, it's breaking out on the daily, man, they're just eating it up. And if any of those combine themselves, then it's just that much more power, it seems. Now, last week, Apple got upgraded, had a really huge day off of that, and just kind of floated up. Now, going back 3 days ago, if you look here at this chart, back to October 1st, that's the day I thought that Apple was going to break through what was the previous high of, let me get this, 229.67. So I thought that was going to be the day that it happened. It would go up through that, and that would be enough set. But it didn't do that. It actually pulled back a little bit and faded before the day was over. Now, yesterday, this is where we left off on the second, was talking about that same trade. It was like, I think this thing is ready, but it got up there. I'm going to put an intraday chart up from yesterday. It rallied up to that and just slightly broke out. And then it pulled back. But the clue here was, even though it had pulled back when the market had pulled back, it still tried to fight its way back up there. So it spent more time at the top of the range than it did at the bottom. The thing that was a concern was usually when these stocks have been breaking out, they've just been going and never looking back. So this one was kind of struggling with this 230. And I didn't want it to gap up. And it did just a little bit here. So this is pre-market in this gray. If you guys don't understand how to look at this chart here with Thinkorswim or how they do it, this gray is pre-market. So it was kind of taken off there a little bit, 230.59. I'm like, I don't want this thing to get away pre-market. We'll see how it opens. We'll see if we can try this thing again. And fortunately, it just kind of, it just worked perfect. You'll see right here as it opens, it just drops also ever so slightly back down, just slightly below. You can see the bottom of this wick right here, just slightly below 230. And then it just starts to pop. We pick this thing up, and it was just gone after that. As soon as it goes through pre-market highs, which is really a good indication. If any of this stuff gaps up and then takes out pre-market highs, the gap and go strategy has been really effective in this market. It was a done deal. I mean, it goes straight up. You've got all the emotion. You got all the chasers. You got all the buyers straight up to 233. So really good looking chart, really good looking. I mean, that's exactly what we were looking for, and that's exactly what we got. Now, I sold on that first rip, and then when it pulled back into the VWAP, you're not going to see it on this chart, but let me pull up this one here, right here, this 5-minute chart down below this VWAP line, right here in this area, when it pulled back and then faded into the VWAP, I actually picked it up again and made a little trade right up here, just a little scalp. I mean, sometimes I like that when you have a strong stock that fades into a price that you like, or it fades into VWAP. Pretty good there. So all in all, I'm really happy with the way that trade worked out. And like I said, you don't always get, this is the way trading works, guys. You got to be patient. Sometimes, you know, I thought this was going to be something that was going to pay dividends on Monday. It didn't do it. Thought yesterday was going to be that day. Didn't do it. Finally here on a Wednesday, 3 days after trying it a few times, there it was, and it all panned out. Now, in the grand scheme of things, waiting 3 days seems to be really ADHD, right? But, you know, we're day traders. We look to make money right away. So remember, some of the ideas that you have, you're going to try them. Don't get discouraged. Just remember, read the chart, Look at the volume. It just wasn't ready. That's all it was. Just wasn't ready. So we had to try it a couple times, but we finally got it. So that was really the big winner of the day. Now, I mentioned yesterday the loser that I had was TTD. And I got a nice gap up on this one and a really, really nice rally on this stock. So that got me out of that thing, which turned out to be a really, really nice winner. And I don't know if I want to go back into TTD. Maybe you can say, when you hold overnight, there's always, I always say there's like an element of luck there. I mean, you can gap up or gap down. But usually these really, really strong stocks after they sell off, I mean, this is what the market does. Try to keep this in mind. The market will drive prices up as far as it needs to make prices unattractive, to run off buyers. And then they'll drive prices down low enough to where people think, oh, that's attractive. So I'm looking at this thing on the 4 or 5 day skid here, retracing about from 158 to 131, you know, a substantial amount there. At some point, it's either going to get upgraded because there's definitely hedgies that own this thing. It's going to get upgraded. Signal's going to come in to save it. It's going to have a bounce day. You just have to be patient and wait for it. It's better to do that than rather just going in randomly going, well, it's just oversold. It's just overbought, and then just guessing. You have to have a plan on every trade that you take. So this was a good one. So these are two back-to-back trades that started the day that really just set the tone for the rest of it. And messed around with a little bit of, what is it, Wayfair. I tried the same thing with Wayfair today. I actually got shook like a rook on Wayfair. Because this worked out. Remember, idea, execution, management. This Wayfair was a great idea. It was pretty good execution. Horrible management. It had been fading so much, so I waited actually until it broke through high of day. I wanted a really strong confirmation that this thing was going to take out the highs of day. And it did that, but then it just kind of, if you look at this little box, right, it just kind of consolidated through this area right here. I'll draw it on the chart. And I just got shook out there. I was just like, nah, you know what, I don't really want to mess with this thing. And then finally it kind of breaks out, albeit it's really low volume. It wasn't like, you know, it was spready at times. It wasn't like it was pounding out the volume. It wasn't clean that you get reading sometimes. And that's just the way it goes. I mean, you can't be perfect on everything. I lost a little bit on that, not too much. And I kind of scratched out of this win. If you're seeing win on my brokerage statement there, that's from, I just went for a short on this based on just my being familiar with trading win so many times and the fact that it went parabolic. I'm like, I have absolutely no idea why the hell people are buying win up here. And I thought I could take advantage of it. It actually turned out to be like a $10 winner. Woo! Put that in your face, huh? Short seller. Short sellers always win. That's what I'm talking about. But anyway, it did fade a little later on, but there's always a thing about time too, using time stops. That, you know, when your technical analysis, if your technical analysis is correct, and the strategy that you're using, if you're doing it right, you should get a move within X amount of minutes. I explained this before in a happy hour. It's like, for me, 16 minutes. Most of my trades work out in 16 minutes or less, according to my journals and stuff like that. So if I go past 16 minutes, that means that my ratio of 75 to 80% win rate goes down to like 50-50 or, you know, or lower than that. So that's like, you know, the Sherwood forest of trading. It's like bad territory for me. So past that, there will be ones I get rid of, like Wayfair, and I'll lose money on it. Or I'll give up money on win. Like there was 2 of them today where if I would have held, yes, I would have made it. But overall, that's what we're talking about as traders. Overall, we have to live and die by our systems and our strategies. And that's what I do. And, you know, overall, 20 or 30 trades like this, it'll pan out for me more often than not than to cut it. So this was good. This was good. It was a good day. Like I said, we're almost pressing 5 figures here for the week. I got to be pretty happy with that. And it's a good start to the month. Couple of crappy little trades. I got this little BA here. I'm working to the short side, which is a little bit stubborn. I love shorting, but man, this market's been brutal when it's come to that stuff. We'll see how that one plays out. The thing I want you to take away from this is really, Apple's a really good example of that. I don't want to just talk about winners. I want to talk about losers too, because there was a couple of losing trades on that prior to this really nice win. That's going to happen for you. I want you to understand, you know, the market, like we talked yesterday, it isn't always going to be a great market. Things are not going to make sense. You're going to see a certain breakout and you're going to take that 2 or 3 times. It's going to work like a charm. Then one time it's not. And you're going to ask yourself, how come it's not working? Well, That's the market. It doesn't always work. Nobody's batting 100% on everything. Not everything works every time, every day. Just stay with it. Like I said, it's 3 days it took us to get that. And that's not long in the terms of like Warren Buffett investing. But 3 days. It took 3 days, but eventually it paid off. So sometimes you'll have to try it. So you try a BA short. Maybe it doesn't work for a couple days. But before the week is over, we'll probably track it down for a really, really nice trade. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. Going into tomorrow, there's a lot of interesting stuff. This market sold off quite a bit here late in the day. I want to see how that pans out. It's kind of bouncing up here a little bit now, but see how that pans out. You got really up there close to a breakout on the SPY. That's of some interest to me. So we're just going to have to see. Again, if you need help, linkenlist.com. Start trading with us live. Thanks for watching Market Mutterings. Take care and trade well.